allow for an extra bait and switch, an extra little shoulder peek with a double challenge coming through. There's a lot of things that you can do with that extra player on the board, and that's one of the biggest struggles that we saw from teams like 100 Thieves early on in the PLQ qualifier. So as we take a look, hopefully we'll see a little bit more of a cohesive look for GSU.
Yeah, an early contestation coming on this first hill. I'd say one of the more contest-heavy hills in the game. Toddy with a nice turnaround on the Nevermind, and that's going to be 3 kills in favor of LU Red.
Yeah, you couldn't have asked for a better start for LU Red, and look at this. They've already pushed on through. This is going to actually flip the spawns likely as they clean up everybody at top highway, which now you just turn around, get some soak, make sure you keep the point, and now you can string together 2 straight hard points if you find a successful second gunfight.
Yeah, and I really like the plays right there, recognizing they got that wave of kills pushing through to be able to get those spawns for that next 18 hard point. Just those, you know, those high IQ plays I'm talking about that teams need to make in order to win these maps.
And I like the flank pushing around through that broken connector all the way into that rock garden and now back towards the emergency trucks. And if you can find this fight, you are in a spot to potentially swing things in your favor. APOC having to make the play. We'll actually just trade completely out. So we're left with a pretty much of a stalemate at the moment, 17-14. APOC still kind of hanging on to this vending machine area. We'll be able to find one more and look to head towards ambulance. But again, the point already in control for Liberty Red just comes down to, can there be more support to help out APOC on this flank to swing the spawns in their favor?
Yeah, and I really like that play out of APOC, just staying alive, giving his team time, even though staying quick. He's going to be on a massive 6th streak. He's 235 off. I'm not sure if it's a visual bug. I'm not sure exactly what streaks he's running right now since Godcaster.
Is he running any? Is he running any streaks, I wonder? Like, is he just not running anything? Did he forget to kit it out? Maybe he was playing game battles beforehand, like 2v2s or something, where you're not allowed to have score streaks? I guess we'll find out here in a minute.
I don't know.
Does have one more lined up. He's 35 off of something. I don't know what. Maybe we'll just call it. If he doesn't have score streaks, it'll just be straight gas. Just
Absolutely.
Diesel coming out his way. We'll just have to throw at that if it gets to that point.
Man dies off the rip, goes on a killer 8 streak. GSU coming out with a little bit of fire. We're going to be all tied up going towards this Showers Hill.
Big moment here, as you can already see. You look at the minimap on the left-hand side. There's a big spread coming out of GSU, trying to just find a way to pinch, but the trades are not really allowing that strategy to be ultra effective. And oh god, Teddy, yeah, just hit the key, bud. Just get yourself full HP. Meanwhile, though, on the point, Nevermind is able to get themselves through, finding himself 2. So he is a little bit isolated by himself, but the gunfight wins are appreciated by GSU, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And LU Red is going to have that hill for just the moment. They do have a good setup right now. 2 players going to be pushing from the backside, but both of them are going to fall.
Take a look at just how you retake this for GSU. I mean, oh, you can't move into that area. I mean, at that point in time for Visual, it's just he's out there by himself. That's a kind of a throwaway kill, as again, this is just scrap time. It looks like be one more contest for GSU from the backside of the point. It's going to have to be a hit, win, and push through immediately, although if they are able to win the gunfights. Liberty Red just not giving up at the point though whatsoever. They have one more player here. He will be taken down, but again, look at the rotations here. The broken wood area, this little tea shop area is going to be all controlled by Liberty. They do not have the close spawns though, as you can see APOC trying to swing things back in their favor. But again, that early control favoring the team in red.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why GSU decided to push through for that old and scrap time with only about 15 seconds left. They just basically forfeit the spawns to LU Red, and maybe they're trying to push through, maybe get behind them. But who knows? But as of now, LU Red, 50-point lead and control of this hill.
Again, this is such a hard point to break. I mean, what do you use? What do you do to break this? You've got a Nasog right in your face if you try to come through the front door. You've got Maddox is holding down the B street, that long shoot off for the left-hand side, and you can already see players playing over the middle as well for the next rotation, although the gunfight's not won, so potential for some scrap time here. And you have to think you need to clear this point off, try to at least find the kills so you can set yourself up for what will hopefully be a successful second rotation to hard points. And looks to be the case as Liberty is able to find themselves a number of kills in the back end by that alley. Well, taken down with the last shot from Nevermind. But you take a look already for Advosis, he's already got himself full streaks, and that's tough.
Yeah, and one thing I isolate, we talked about this in the pregame about players running the recon over the Tempest. It's all about if they're going to be doing enough damage, getting enough score to be able to maintain this recon. And right now, at most, it's on pace to get, you know, one pretty early in this game, I would say, plus having full streaks.
Yeah. I mean, you anticipate specialists coming out right around the second hard point of the rotation. The second rotation, second hard point is when you typically start to see those coming through, and we're just about on pace as a couple have them ready to go. But having that vision pulse that close could be huge, especially when you talk about being able to combine things for that shower hill specifically. That's where I'm looking for that vision pulse to potentially have its effectiveness.
Yeah, and one thing I want to notice is this time Georgia Southern, even though they're not on the hill right now, they are set up for these new spawns for the back 18 hard point.
Oh, Vivid. No, I was going to say, you don't get that off. Never mind. He went for the hero plays with the grapple potentially into a 3-man spike, but you're not going to be able to pull that off, not in this type of an environment. And you can already see just through the perspective, we are getting Liberty Red moving on through. Drone Squad is out. This is a great hill to have it. You can just essentially put yourself in between that 18-wheeler or in the laundry area and just let that Drone Squad fly. But as I say that, GSU's able to find themselves 3 kills, and all of a sudden, GSU looking to put together a little bit of a comeback here, down just 90.
Yeah, and right now we saw that Nevermind decided to use that grab slam and able to take out the Drone Squad.
It's big.
APOC gonna hop attack 5 here for his team. Try to just hold on to this hill.
It just comes down to, can you find the trades? And on the backside of the 18-wheeler, things are favoring the side of GSU. And you just look at APOC, he's playing this close pillar, and oh goodness, he just got absolutely fried. Moses still feeling himself, moving on in, able to break the hard point pretty much by himself. He will be traded away at the very end, finding that last couple of seconds, but as you take a look at the minimap, once again, not interested whatsoever in that hard point is Liberty. They're already pushed through Dojo into the shower area, and it just comes down to winning these rotation fights. APOC not going to let it happen on his watch, though, so all of a sudden, you win one more fight. APOC is able to do it. You trade out his life if you can, but oh man, if they would have been able to trade, GSU possibly could have put together a couple of hard points, but Attack 5 was just too strong. That 200 HP having a pretty big impact here on this third point.
And one thing I want to note is on the side of Liberty Red, Herbivore opts to use that battery. Isn't able to find anything from it, but now it could have been useful, especially for this showers point.
Yeah, I mean, the Annihilator also being utilized just to hold down the long angle. One will peek, taken down. Thank you very much. Looking to set things up for potentially more. Won't be able to find too much on the back end of it, but again, a lot of extra time. Just, again, the threat of the Annihilator almost doing as much as the Annihilator itself. 200 plus now for Liberty, and GSU looking like desperate times, call for desperate measures.
Yeah, if we've got 2 players on the other side of the map, it's going to be APOC and Visual already pushing over for these spawns, but Moses is going to call in this Vision Pulse. Really nice play. Maybe make sure to lock down these spawns for the next hill.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the time that you want to see it go, right? As you go to this last kind of back area that very typically gets held strongly by the team that controls the point, but that vision will allow you that little bit of an extra advantage. GSU looking to get shrugged away from this wood area, and yeah, a nice little grapple up top. No chance to respond to that whatsoever, and it looks like Liberty will actually put themselves on the point and start counting even closer to that 250 mark.
Yeah, but a nice break-in from Georgia Southern right there. A couple of kills go in their favor. They're going to be holding on to the time for the moment.
War Machine, this has to be big. You have to find the eliminations at the back end of this, and it's just absolutely nothing. GSU, the former champs, getting tossed around here on Gridlock Hardpoint. 137 to 213, and again, the kill feed just favors that. Liberty Red still score streaks available for Moses as we look to put things into the third rotation. You get to figure that Hellstorm Lightning Strike. If they do need to use it to break the point, that will be the time that it's going to be pulled out.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to be calling in that Hellstorm right now. Going to have 3 in the sights. Only going to find 1 with it, but that's just enough for LU Red to be able to break into this hill.
Yeah, it's just good push. I mean, that score streak in specific, you have to be careful of your team pushing a little bit too aggressively, but the team waits, lets that Hellstorm come on down, and then they follow up behind it. It gives them a couple of extra seconds. Although from Ice Cream and also pinching from the broken connector, GSU will find a handful of eliminations to the point, but no time being generated by either team. So you have to take a look as the Lightning Strike does get rained down. That will be allowing Liberty to come on through. 10 more seconds needed. Has to find a contest at some point. You cannot allow this extra time to just go Liberty's way, and I don't know if anyone from GSU is going to even be able to contest in time.
That doesn't look like it. Liberty is going to take the first map of this series, 250 to 142.
Yikes. Very convincing performance, I think, just generally. I mean, Atmosis gets early score streaks, utilizes them rather well. Granted, the drone squad does not last for all that long because you called that out nicely, the grab slam that came in, and here's that play from Teddy McBuckets. Coming on down, slamming some cars, and finding blood to tote on the back end, opening that second rotation out. And there it is, the grapple in. That was, never mind, trying to make a heroic play, but not on Teddy's watch, not today.
Yeah, that's one of those things we isolated earlier about the individual playmaking versus the cohesive team decisions being made. Right there, the heroic play definitely doesn't need to be made right there. Never mind, just throws his life away, grappling towards the hill, and yeah. Liberty gets, an extra 15 seconds because they're waiting for a team push to come in.
Take a look all across the board. Pretty big numbers. I mean, even quietly, so we didn't really talk much about Blue, but, I mean, 5,300 damage. You love to see that 5,200. And we didn't really talk about much from the big damage takers. I mean, again, that just kind of goes to show that, all these ICR plays that you typically don't get the heroic plays with. You lock down these long lines of sights, you lock down rotations, and all of a sudden you're up top, and things are looking pretty solid for Liberty Red. A very convincing hard point. We don't know what the vetoes or the map picks looked like. Maybe that was Liberty's pick. GSU needs to bounce back though, regardless, on the search and destroy coming up.
Yeah, just to clarify for you, this was actually Georgia Southern's pick for the series.
Yikes.
So
hate to see it.
Yeah, and they're gonna have to bounce back on the second map. And that second map, I believe, is going to be in Arsenal S&D. So we come back in just a moment. That's what we're going to be looking at. But, Liberty really playing as a team there. One thing I really like is their ability to combo their specialists together. Vision Pulse pops, it's a 3-push through to get the back spawns. They're making these team pushes that make getting the kills on rotation better. What's easier, a 1v1 or a 3v1, right? It's always the 3v1.
Yeah. Always. At least you would think so. I mean,
you're right.
Not when you're pulling up against me, J Pro. I always take down the 3v1s as a solo player. Let's be real.
Yeah, you're right.
But the thing of this, it's for me the word that comes to mind when you take a look at things like the specialist usage in combination with the score streaks. It was clinical. It was absolutely what you need to see. You have to find full effectiveness. You can't be in a spot where those things don't find full value, and when they do, it just feels like you're at a tier above, especially when your opponent is not finding the same kind of success. I mean, you hit it very nicely. That Vision Pulse was used perfectly. The Hellstorm was dropped nicely. Even the Drone Squad, the timing of it was proper, but, the Grab Slam counterplay was smart. I mean, these are the type of plays that just have to occur in a 5v5 specialist-based Call of Duty like we have here at Black Ops 4.
Yeah, I gotta agree, and I want to give a big shout-out to GSU and LU Red. They're already lobbied and ready up for this next map.
Let's do it, boys.
Yeah, I don't even think we're going to have to go to a little bit of an intermission there, just giving the confirmation for them to start this match, but when it comes down to this S&D on Arsenal, I really think that this is one of the more, I don't want to say less team-based maps, but I think that there's a lot of room for individual plays to be made, especially on this map.
I agree, 100%. You look at, Paladins, very, very, very much common on this map. ICR gameplay, locking down solo sites, absolutely. Maddox saw gameplay in the middle. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree when it comes down to solo performances can have a huge impact on this map. Yeah,
and also multiple different routes to flank from, especially with those vents over towards that A bomb site. I know a lot of players like to just sit in there, get a little cheeky with it, Player pushes up and get a free kill off of that. But overall, this Arsenal S&D, I think, is really what's going to be the game changer for this map. It's going to show either GSU really is that 2-3-5 team that they're talking about, or LU Red is just going to come out and try to wipe the floor. For me, this is a swing game.
Yeah, it absolutely is. If this is a convincing search and destroy, as you mentioned, I didn't realize, but having GSU's map pick be that gridlock hardpoint and them kind of getting beat by, about 100 points or so.
Yeah.
That's just about as convincing as you can get when it comes to having a dominating hardpoint performance. So as we go to Liberty's pick on search and destroy, if this gets a little out of hand, we might be looking at quite a different story from season 0 to season 1 for GSU to start their season off.
Yeah, really not what you're looking for. The defending season 0 champions coming back and losing your first match, to be honest. And it looks like we're going to have a lobby restart because I'm pretty sure somebody joined in at the last moment, didn't close the lobby.
Feels bad.
I guess we'll wait and see just a moment.
It's just one of those things, too. You consider the implications of this Call of Duty franchise specifically. It's notoriously been 4v4 for almost ever since at least CWL has been a thing, and now all of a sudden you turn in to 5v5s and it's a totally different game. Yes, it's a surprise that teams like FaZe, G2, 100 Thieves, all of them struggling, almost like 100 Thieves barely even getting through the qualifiers.
Absolutely.
With the star-studded roster that they have, it doesn't just, you can't rely on the individual skill like we said. Typically, there's a whole other factor being thrown in with the 5v5 element. And it's really put this game into a different perspective. Maybe we're looking at something similar here for GSU. Maybe they're doing so well on 4v4s because of their individual star-studded performances that you mentioned, not finding the same kind of success because you do get punished more regularly trying to go off and make those exploratory moves that you typically saw a lot of in World War II.
Yeah, and one thing I really like to note is that even if a team doesn't necessarily have a better gun skill than the other team, the way Black Ops 4 is based is, honestly, in my opinion, teams that have the better teamwork, able to have the better team pushes, are the team that's always going to come out on top.
Yeah. You would think that, right? At least,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of the game, right? I mean, we talk about things like COD timings, where like you don't necessarily, especially on console, you just not have the time to usually react to somebody who gets the first shot on you that you're not looking at. It's just the way it goes. It's the way the console game is played. And when you come down to it, finding good timings, finding good angles, having that self-discipline, those all kind of compound on what you're talking about. Those elements are huge. And when you have those things in your favor, it definitely becomes a lot harder to lose when you're winning gunfights left and right.
Yeah, and it looks like we actually are going to be loaded into this map, so we're going to switch on over to that. We got, I believe this is going to be GSU starting off on the defensive side of things. We'll see if they're able to kick it off. I
always hesitate to call that because I never know which is defense and which is offense.
Looks like they are on the defense. And one thing I noticed, Jokes did have that sniper out, so let's see if he's able to find anything with it towards that B bomb site. But it looks like all of Liberty is going to be going towards that A site.
Yeah, but still, the fact of the matter is he can sit here essentially by himself. He's got the angle already picked. A lot of information already being gained as there's a couple of shots being traded over by this statue, this Splint statue, and now all of a sudden it comes down to Atmos and squad. Can they find a way in? Nice shots to trade in. The trades are actually of high value for the offense. They gain the control of the space, and it just comes down to, oh my goodness, that turnaround. Oh goodness, Teddy. That would have been absolutely insane, and now it's just the scope left alive for Jokes. It's not looking so great, Jokes, J-Pro.
Yeah, Jokes not really sure what he's going to do. He's just going to watch his flank a little bit, but, the 1v2 situation, best hope maybe you're able to pick up a gun off of one of his fallen friends. We're going to see what's happening. Going to find the pick onto Herbivore. Now it's a 1v1 with 32 seconds left.
Oh, this became super doable. Did he read this play? He's seen him now.
Jokes going to make the aggressive play. But beautiful
weapon.
And Jokes is going to pick up the massive 1v1. I really didn't see that coming, to be honest, especially with that sniper, but showing that Mozu, it's lethal.
I mean, you got to dissect that from the perspective of Liberty Red. You know he's got a sniper rifle. You know he's out of no man's land, probably just sitting with a scope and a Mozu. You have to either decide to play just close to the chest, put somebody in the vents, put somebody on top of the statue. What are you doing long peeking the stairs when you know that he's got a sniper on hand? That's just a misplay from Liberty Red. You either got to make one call. Either you just turtle up on the bomb site or you push and double challenge the sniper. They do neither of those things. Jokes punishes. You love to see it.
Yeah, just really good, map awareness, recognizing, okay, he could be sitting in the lobby, making sure he's not getting flanked. Just really, really great recognition of what's happening in the situation. And they're going to find themselves up 1-0 because of it.
That's a great opportunity for GSU. I mean, it's not only the fact that you're going to have your sniper just feeling good after all of that. I mean, he's going to be feeling the confidence. Do you just feed the hot hand here? Do you try to give him a hard angle on offense? Or do you try to put yourself in a position just to play aggressively off the back end of that momentum? You would love to swing things more in your favor. It's going to come down to, though, can it be curbed? Just lock this down with the ICR at long range. A lot of shots will connect, but no eliminations yet.
Yeah, one thing I recognize is Frequenstein. He's getting pinned down in the back. He's going to get pushed out. So this is going to be the instant rotate call, it looks like. A lot of them are pushing on over towards this A site. They recognize the rotation has already come out from LU Red. However, there's one player left there.
They will lose Ripples, though. That's not the worst case scenario. He was kind of playing the long con over towards B, but APOC and the vents could be, I said the timing was almost really big in his favor. And the ICR on the backhand side, this is falling apart so terribly for GSU. Able to find one as APOC, but he's going to have to do a lot more than that. And it's not in the cards this round. And it was a good rotation call, but it just seemed like they had different ideas as far as how GSU wanted to approach the retake of possibly moving towards B. You had some going towards the middle, some watching flank, none of them winning the gunfights as there's no help to be gained. And when you have shots like that from Herbivore, you got to feel pretty good about your chances of holding off any kind of a push.
I mean, yeah, APOC really gets some unfortunate COD timing right there. But, LU Red just capitalizes on it, recognizing, getting the trades in the vents. Now we're all tied up 1-1.
And it makes you wonder a little bit. You find that kill on the back end of what was a B, at least leaning towards B. Do you just try to push everyone through the middle and cut off the rotation from B to A? I mean, of course, hindsight, is always 20/20, but it just seemed a little strange that they split things up. They threw about 3 players over towards the long side by Trophy, and then one through the middle and one just delayed the flank. And now you look at Jokes again, and again, a very bold peek from the side of Liberty on that right-hand side.
You jump once, you're good. You jump twice, you're getting scary. The third time,
Yeah.
Should maybe get Visual gonna pick up one with the clutch.
Oh, and a kill in elevator as well. This is looking really solid for the side of GSU. Visual having himself quite around here. Left with a 3-on-2.
Oh,
and look at Ripples.
He might
in a
get
really
some
good spot.
timing.
Yeah, he's in a really good spot for the rotation. If he actually he doesn't push through the vents though, he just holds. I'm fine with this, to be honest. You could already see both players defensively for GSU playing over towards B. You can just sit here for an A peek. Yeah, absolutely. As well, he's not committing to the angle though.
No, you're right. They don't trust it. They don't trust that there's nobody at this A site. Looks like the bomb is going to go down, however.
You have to rotate, right? But just 12 seconds left. There's nobody at B. Like, you have to get over to A. And yeah, this is just slow rotation from GSU. Ripples peaks without his teammates even being close to being able to contest. Now the bomb is down. The objective favoring Liberty Red in a 2v2. But we've seen this before. Joke still has the scope. Will they make the same mistake twice when it comes to peeking him, though?
Looks like he might have gotten some information behind that statue on one of them. He's able to pick up the Maddox in the situation now with 2v1. Visual and Jokes versus Toddy.
He's got time to play with. And Toddy doesn't even need to bother Maddox. Too good in hand. Finding himself a double-double. Well,
yep.
Not really. Just double down on that round.
Beautiful just posting up with his Maddox right here. Nice snap onto the second one. Nice 1v2 clutch.
Yeah, you'd love to see it. And as you go forward, I mean, looking at 2-1, we've seen a couple of really I hate it. It's just really kind of stringent attacks. There's nothing really being fully committed to. The rotation game has been a lot of the focus for GSU. Liberty Red, obviously, having a couple of successful defensive rounds, and all of a sudden, it just comes down to who's going to be able to put together a good offensive round first.
And Beautiful's in a world of pain here. There's 4 players going to be pushing. He's going to decide to back off. Hopefully try to stay alive, but he's going to get pushed. He isn't able to find one. That's a big kill for Nevermind right there.
Yeah, it's a big favor for GSU. They've got a lot of control. Bomb being planted. Mozu also ringing true for Jokes again. Even though he does get traded out, the pick is good. Now the aggressive peek with the Maddox. That's an angle that you love to see from Nevermind. And he's got one more below him, right on top. A little bit of a Batman move there. That's an easy double. Now just a 4-on-1, and Toddy can't imagine he likes what he sees.
Gotta fall immediately, and GSU's gonna find another round on the board.
I'm liking what I'm seeing, generally, I would say, from GSU. I think that they've, as the rounds start to unfold, I think they're making the correct calls. It just comes down to actually effectively executing on them. Like that rotation that we saw in their previous attack before this one. It was the correct call, but the execution was not quite there. So the decision-making, you talked about Jokes and that in-game IQ, is definitely having a play here. And you just would love to see it, though, for GSU to beat a 3-1 scoreline at least. But as we start to get to round 5 and beyond, we're starting to get ever so close to some of these specialists. Because really, for me, it just comes down to who can find them first, and will we find big rounds on the back end of them.
Yeah, one thing I want to notice is Ripples. He is 0-4. Not very close to that recon and that vision pulse we talk about.
Yeah. That's the thing. So, you start to look at the decision making there and you go, oh, well, you wish you would have, but you're stuck with it now as Jokes is able to find one more kill right around the outside portions of B. 3-on-2 scenario. And defensively, my goodness, Liberty's in such a bad spot. A good concussion comes through. Was able to find it out the back of an attack mask. Oh, you got to find those shots. APAC bouncing around like a bunny on Easter, able to find himself both.
APOC showing why he's one of the better SOGs in the league, to be honest. SOG shot's insane. Nice little stun right there. Gonna stun both players.
Again, just fortunate timing or not, I think he got the information that players are pushing through B, and that's just really good trigger discipline to use your equipment when you have it. And it pays off there for 2 and the round. 3-2, looking good for GSU.
APOC, just maybe 1 or 2 kills off of that crash. Gonna be able to secure himself around that situation.
You figured that for a player like APOC too that has been playing well, you would love to see that come into play and let this thing get a little bit more out of hand for the side of GSU. Jokes though with the scope. We'll be heading over towards B. Long angle finds ahead, but the ICR is too quick, already hard scoped in.
Riffles finally puts his first kill on the board, and it's going to be a 4v4 situation, but the bomb does look like it's going to be going down towards this B site. And the rotation is not here out of Liberty. APOC gonna find one on at Moses.
Yeah, things are looking good for GSU. They've really kind of tuned in this search and destroy. And APOC has really done a lot of the work, although that's an unfortunate timing there. Will re-challenge. Good. You need to win that fight, and he does. So now all of a sudden, 2-on-2 scenario. GSU with the bomb.
And if you're visual right here, do you pop this war machine right here? Just try to, you know, save himself.
I don't know. It's a tough call. I mean, it could be a big round, but that would be a really bold call for visual, I think. Although now the situation started to unfold in front of him. One kill will go away, and man, I don't know if I like that. You have the high ground. You don't have the numbers, but you have the timer. But still, we'll peak and we'll be punished, and we'll be drawn up at 3. And kind of going back to your war machine question, it's a tough call, really. I mean, it probably would guarantee you the round, but it's one of those things of, I think the thought process is, do I need to use it? And I think the answer probably would have been not, because the timer on the bomb was already fading away. A 2-on-2 situation. It's just, you know, it's one of those calls that retrospectively probably would have said, yeah, I would have liked to have it, but regardless, again, hindsight, 2020.
Absolutely. And GSU, you know, well, it looked like it should have been a good situation. They had the timer in their favor. Just playing a little bit aggressive. Visual gets double peaked right there. Just not able to, you know, trade one out before he goes down. Make it a 1v1.
Now we're looking at a really interesting situation as far as, you know, discipline as far as the specialists go. You've got Blue with the Annihilator, if you want to open up a point with it. Not exactly the best specialist to use to open up a point. It's usually best as far as holding it defensively. Attack 5 will be used, and that might just be enough for GSU. They're already up on the first blood. Almost fine at Moses as well.
Yeah,
looks like
Beautiful is just going to get out of there.
Yeah, this is a good rotation call, but again, you're just going to be going between a rock and a hard place at this point. 200 HP for 3 members, and they can get aggressive. They have a lot of map control. This is a tough round for Liberty.
Yeah, especially with 3 of those players still having that Attack 5 boost. Liberty's got to make the play, and it looks like they're going to opt to rotate back towards that B bomb site.
It's the right call, I think, just because of the line of sight. You will be able to play a little bit more up and close, get those SOGs that chew through the HP. A good trade will open things up, but now the SOG gameplay too good. It's just down to Blue, and you have to think at a certain point you have to consider your options as far as getting outside the map, but he won't get the opportunity. GSU will put themselves up, and now you got to be looking at the specialists to come through here. I would look at round number 8 coming up.
Yeah, and I really like that play call to GSU. We got the Attack 5 boost. We can play a little bit aggressive. They send 3 players towards this B site, and they're able to find the first blood within a matter of moments.
And I think now, if you get a situation, I think you just throw Blue at a point by himself, maybe. Try to set things up for this Annihilator just to make a solo play. If he's got the long line of sight, this really comes down to what setup you want to pull out defensively for Liberty. But you do have that Annihilator, which can be clutch. And if it were to happen, it would likely happen here at A. But looks like he's going to be the opposite side by B. He's not. He's just got the Maddox. And yeah, he's going to get the information on at least 2 players. We'll back up, call for assistance, and good discipline. This comes down to will anything be used here specialist-wise? So far, nothing.
One player I want to notice is Frequenstein. He's going on that full flank around. They're going to be watching for him. But one player's going to be staring at that back ramp, so see how that flank develops.
Oh, wow, APOC gets caught with his pants down there as that Moses peaks with the Maddox. Where's this team to help that? You have to have somebody there to help out. The bomb has been dropped as well. This round is starting to very quickly unfold. You got Frequent on the back end looking for the pinch. Will he even get the opportunity to, as a lot of his teammates up front have fallen, but there it is. Yeah, that's exactly the pinch success you want. Now it's just left with the one-on-one. And the bomb again is down, so a lot of room to play with here for Frequenstein.
Yeah, a SOG in hand. Try to isolate one of these really close range duos, but rifles.
What?
Interesting timing right there.
I'm not 100% sure what the goal was. It looked like he wanted to maybe go through window to try to come back around the opposite side through elevator, but he just didn't commit to the play and just kind of got caught in the middle of no man's land. Nothing to hide behind. I mean, you know the player's behind you. On the same point, though, you have to give credit. I mean, the read was made, and pushing through, you know, to get the chase down the kill was Rip, and you know, the bomb was down, so he had to make one play or the other. He decided to go with his guns, quite literally, and it paid off there. But that moment where Frequenstein was just kind of sitting in the corner, just like waiting to, I don't really know what the decision was, if he was just kind of biding time, but he wasn't really holding an angle or kind of getting around. It's just kind of a question mark play.
And if you're LU Red, you start popping all these specialists to try to just guarantee you see another round. We saw Frequency already pop the Tag 5.
Yeah, I think you have to, right? I mean, there's so much that could still be used for GSU. I mean, that could be turned on its head. Now we're seeing the Annihilator come out, so 2 there. The War Machine still in play so far for Visual. It just comes down to will he find anything else off the back end. They got 2 for 2 here. Bomb will likely be planted, 3-on-3 situation, but yeah, desperate times looking here. And another one, yeah, Visual will find it just as the plant goes through. Tac 5 still in hand for the last 2 players, but things are not looking so great for Liberty Red.
And Apox just hopped the bomb while Visual's just trying to watch over him. This is going to be a free defuse right here. GSU's just won the game.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, a little anticlimactic, but again, it's these small plays, right? I mean, you take a look at, you know, especially over the last couple of days, I'm sure a lot of people out there have watched a lot of competitive Call of Duty at pretty much the pinnacle of the competitive scene. And now you're looking at teams that are, you know, still up-and-comers, still in college, obviously, and, you know, trying to make a go at competitive Call of Duty, and a couple of misplays here and there. Just, you know, these are things that you look back, you learn from, and hopefully you grow for the next time. But these are the differences you see between, you know, Tier 2, Tier 3 Call of Duty competitively versus what we've seen over the last 5 days, which has been the pinnacle of top-tier gameplay. So we're used to seeing the right challenges being made, the right decisions being made, but these are all learning experiences for these players. And you know, it's a kind of, sometimes it just comes down to that coin flip, but regardless, a 6-3 win is how it will read in the Search and Destroy. And yeah, a really solid play here from GSU and Search and Destroy.
Yeah, Visual and Jokes both putting up some pretty good damage numbers, both dropping above 2,200. While on the other side, only player even close was Beautiful with 2,200. Some really, really smart plays coming out. And as we noted earlier, that this game could be the swing game for this series. As, you know, Apox said that GSU, their hardpoint looking a little shaky. The 2-3-5 might have to be the go-to for this one. And
yep.
right now they're showing up. And this was Liberty's map pick for the S&D. So this control could be wild.
Very well could be. I'm excited to see it. I think we've seen, you know, obviously strengths and weaknesses from both teams when it comes to story gameplay. Specifically GSU, I think you see their decision-making as a full team is obviously there. It just comes down to can they execute. And on the flip side for Liberty, they've got a lot of clutch potential in the wagon, as we saw in Hardpoint. A lot of individuals really popping off and finding a presence on the map that needs to be dealt with. So those two things, decision-making and the ability to break and win fights and just be that catalyst for change when it comes down to attack or defending, depending on what the situation is, those are big elements when it comes to a map style like Control.
And as we're moving in, the map is going to be Gridlock. We saw how Gridlock went in the hardpoint Control a little bit different here, but I don't know. The AR presence of this Liberty squad looking a little strong. Yeah, I don't know if GSU's going to be able to recover from that in the Control specifically, but if they want to have a chance in the series, I think this is where they got to do it.
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a really telling map. I think we saw pretty big gaping holes on both sides. The hardpoint for GSU, not quite up to snuff, at least as far as how the kill potential was going for the team. And Search and Destroy, it just seemed like there were a couple decisions that were not made properly. I mean, how many specialists were still being saved as we got into round 8 there? I mean, there were tons between round 8 and round 9. At some point, you have to just make the call to use one. And again, I think we're going to see that decision-making really be tested here in Control, and this really could tell the tale for the rest of the series.
Yeah, and I really think when it comes to the control points on this map, that it's going to end up favoring these aggressive SMGs is that one by the Showers side of the map, and then the other one by 18 by Sushi. A lot of these aggressive SMGs, you know, just holding these really tight angles, it makes it incredibly hard for the ICRs to just post up and try to get some free kills. But, you know, we're seeing how Apoc's playing. I think GSU has a pretty decent shot when it comes to it, specifically in the Control game mode.
Undoubtedly, APOC has been definitely one of the big performers and shining stars so far in the set completely. And I think you hit it on the head. When it comes to that SMG gameplay, you do rely on your SMG player to get in there and win at least one gunfight. And if he can't, at least trade out a couple of lives. But if you start to get into a situation where you lose that SMG front line and it's just down to Maddox and ICRs, it's really difficult to contest either of those control points on Gridlock.
And one thing I think with both of these teams is they're both smart enough to recognize, okay, we've lost a lot of lives trying to go for this point. Let's try to just refocus, regroup, and let's just try to hold this next point or, you know, push this other point, go for these split pushes. Just making the smart control plays. The game mode hasn't really had a lot of time to evolve as a game mode, but we're seeing some of the better strategies already come out of it. And honestly, I think both these teams are smart enough, have the capability to make the correct calls when it comes to pushing both these hills.
Yeah, and I think the other side of things too is, when you look at the differentials between the both of the points, and we've heard it so often that if you can find that B point first, you're almost guaranteed to find A, because all you have to do is win out one team fight, essentially, maybe two. But that B point, because of where that spawn proximity is for the defenders, it's much more difficult to really find that control. I mean, obviously, that's the namesake of the game type, but the fact of the matter is, it is a lot easier on one side or the other. And the initial calls, how do you split? Do you try to find a little bit of success on both points and then commit to one or the other? I mean, there's a lot of different things as far as the offensive setup. And then defensively, again, you talk about Jokes and his IQ to kind of maneuver around the map and adapt. Those things are huge defensively. Those elements are absolutely pivotal when it comes down to, all right, we're going to commit this many people to try to find this last tick of defense, or we're just going to give it up. Those calls are huge. You make one little misstep and all of a sudden the map can get out of hand.
Yeah, you really do. You just make that one small mistake, your rotation's a little bit slow, or you're not pushing the hill, with a little bit of time left. It's those small little things I think is what this control is going to end up coming down to.
Yeah.
But we're going to be back in just a moment. Teams are still trying to get their lobby situations set up. So we will be back in just a few short seconds with this gridlock control.
Now which way do we go is the question to ask. There are so many choices that it's hard not to look past. What is real and what is fake, and the risk we have to take. Will we know what is throwing off our balance? We're trying to find ourselves without the
And we're back, shorter than I anticipated, but it's all tied up 1-1. And it looks like the sides are wrong. Apologies for that. We'll just switch on over. But GSU is going to be on the left side. We're going to have LU Red on the right side. Love it when they tell me when the sides aren't switching, but it's going to be all good going into this control.
And for me to look at this early push, I mean, to the side of GSU, they're coming right through Ice Cream, trying to find a way to set things up, or pardon me, for Liberty Red. And this is such an aggressive defensive setup. I don't think we've ever seen something like this come out. And on the flip hand side, there is a lot of progress at B, but it's only resulting in one tick that's already being depleted. And wow, that was an absolutely insane start to the game. And all of a sudden, the map is completely in shambles as you take a look at it.
And if we look at the mini-map, LU Red's just spread all the way out across the map. Bunch of one-on-one gunfights going on around. It looks like GSU's opting to push towards showers.
It really just comes down to that, with that first push kind of failing, you have to commit, I think, at one point, and they do find one tick of progress, almost the second, but it looks like the gunfights will be traded away for Liberty, and that will result in the depletion of everything happening at A. So now all of a sudden you have a decision on your hand. You got a minute left. Lives are not out of hand by any stretch. They're getting close, but not completely. So do you try to flip things up? And the answer is yes. They want to come back towards B. But Herb with this ICR is holding such a great angle. We'll look for another weapon, but will be punished for his transgressions.
Yeah, right now GSU just able to hold into the hill right now. They're already, they just barely didn't get that third one. There's going to be one player inside Sushi. It's going to be Riffles versus Atmosis if Riffles decides to push.
This is a long contest here for Riffles. He needs to find a way to stay alive as long as possible. Herb, and looks like, yeah, they will be able to trade away the kill, and that'll be enough for depleting the zone once again. So as we get to about a minute left, it's going back towards A. We get another tick of progress there. Now all of a sudden, you lose one team fight each, and things just immediately get out of hand defensively. Things were going so well for you, but all it comes down to essentially is winning one fight, and all of a sudden GSU could be in a spot to turn this control right on its head.
Absolutely, they're able to take down that shower hill, and a bunch of kills are going in their favor.
Oh my
Never
God.
mind. Finding 2, and they're going to be pushing through their spawn. This is terrible if you're LU Red right now, as they're going to have you leave the spawn trap.
You have to get to the point, though. The bigger thing at this, finally able to find a little bit of a trade. You know, for GSU, I see what you're trying to do. You get this successful push. You want to try to get a little bit of spawn camping, but they don't really fully commit to it. They get a lot of trades over the middle portion of the map, right near that underpass. But then there's not much that follows up afterwards. It's like, okay, cool, but what next? And there was no what next. It's like we're being left without the 6th book of the Game of Thrones series for the last 6 years, no salt. And it's just one of those things. It's like you got to find a way to make a play off of the play that happens. You know, maybe you don't expect to find that full team wipe, but what do you do next? You need to be able to find that situational awareness to push on through and find some success.
And what looked really good for GSU has all fallen apart as it's 12 lives in favor of Liberty Red. And Herbivores, just me watching the push through.
This is all of a sudden just pretty unachievable for the side of GSU. It's just down to never mind, and yeah, this is a tall task for anybody. He does get 1 kill at least, but still, that was a round that very well could have gone and should have gone to GSU and just kind of slips away from him.
Yeah, I gotta agree, they were like a sliver away from capturing that B point, but Admosis stays alive long enough for the teammate to rotate on over and able to take Riffles off the point. What really should have been a first-round win for GSU is actually going to be in favor of Liberty.
Yeah, it's a big missed opportunity for GSU. As Liberty Red, you got to thank your lucky stars that you got away with that one. Honestly, I mean, the opening of that map was absolute chaos. And then beyond that, it just kind of came down to losing that big gunfight over the middle rotation. You just got to be lucky that there was not a big spawn camp coming through or even any rotation to the point. It just was like, okay, we got all 5 kills. Where do we go from here? And it just didn't really go. They didn't go anywhere. They just kind of sat their ground and didn't really contest spawns, and they ended up getting retraded back out. So GSU in a little bit of a hole. Although APOC will try to open things up again pretty aggressively with this SOG right through Ice Cream, running right on it. It's a free kill if I ever seen one. Not able to find the second though, and it will be turned aside once again. This offense will have some success.
Yeah, APOC makes a really smart flank there. Unfortunately, only able to find 1, but might have bought his team enough time to get back to the point.
This is a cap. This is 100% a cap.
Yeah, absolutely. They get the team wipe, trying to push through storage there, just not enough time. And with only, 45 seconds in, they've already captured the B point, and they're pushing towards A.
There's so much time to play with and lives to play with if you're Liberty. I mean, this is a dream. You don't even need to even bother with specialists. If you can find a way to close this round out, I think at this point, yeah, it'd be nice to get to some life lead, but you're already so close to so many specialists. You don't want to allow any time for GSU to get theirs. I think you just go straight for A. You just don't even bother with the spawn kill. You just get the frags. You just move on in and try to take A as fast as possible. Get this thing to a 2-0, where you have a really stark advantage going to round 3. That's the ideal, at least.
Yeah, one thing to point out, Moses already working on streaks. Been a big impactful player already in this series.
Now just comes down to, can you find the trade to try to hold on to this point defensively for GSU? It's not looking to be going so. Trophy comes out, plus Serdade will still find some effectiveness, at least for 1 and some change on the HP pool of Blue. But goodness, his Matic shots, he's got them trained in nicely, and now all of a sudden they're starting to stack onto A. But as I say that, Jokes able to at least find 1 and contest the point for a little bit longer, trying to give his team some time to recontest.
And one thing I didn't even notice is that Toddy fully streaked out, full team wipe. Ooh, a little bit of a body shot coming in, a little bad blood between these teams.
Wow.
But that's just a full team wipe.
And that's exactly, I think, what you want to see, especially for Liberty, is the fact that you got not only the score streaks online, you've got a couple more specialists. You went out point A very quickly on the back end of that very quick B push, and now all of a sudden, this very well could be a very quick 3-0 in control. There's a lot stacked up against GSU going into round 3.
Gotta agree. And really, right now, the gun skill of Liberty just showing up right now. Some great 2 pieces coming out that arguably shouldn't be 2 pieces,
Yeah, you could call it good timing. You could call it just a good hard scope, whatever. But fact of the matter is everything is going the way of Liberty. I have to kind of shout out that last play, just after that play of the game we saw from Blue. He does fall at the end of it, but a recontest comes through the middle portion of the map, and it's a full pinch coming from Connector. Now look at this, all of a sudden, Liberty nearly fully stunned out, looking for a grab slam. Play will be shut down mid-air, though. An opportunity for GSU starting to brew here at A.
Yeah, that most looks like he's going to call in this lightning strike, or at least ping it for the information. It is going to come in as they are losing its A point.
I don't really know if I like the call. I mean, lightning strike in general, this map is just very rarely finds effective. You're probably just blessing your stars if you get one, let alone more, especially on control and S&D. But as we switch on over, progress at A has been found to the second tick, will likely be the third here in a moment, as all the defensive resources are being poured over towards B. Attack 5 being utilized for GSU, necessarily so. Just comes down to what else will be used. There's going to have to be something else probably to break this. I don't think the 200 HP is going to be enough.
Yeah, especially with the streaks on the side of Toddy and Buckets, he can.
Yeah.
People can try to hide from it. However, that only forces you to get into those close quarters combats. And right now, we're seeing that LU Red is having the better SMG slaying, I think, or the better slaying potential in general.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're just watching a hard angle as we're watching Curb just completely dominate this 18-wheeler box heady, and no one's able to peek at all. Not on the right side of Milk, not on the left side at all as we try to contest the Sushi. And you got Toddy sitting in the back line as well. He will be taken down from behind. And now all of a sudden, an opportunity over the middle, actually, as you take a look at GSU. And I think this is, you have to play this hand. You have to find a way to get on in. The problem is there's a drone squad waiting for you. And meanwhile, the rest of your team is still trying to find aggressive angles on the long side of the B street. And things are just not going so well from the trophy system in play as well. Tough situation ahead of GSU to try to get this one back to a 2-1.
Never mind. Oh, he might have just gotten some extreme time. He's going to find one. He might have just found the time for two. He's going to find second. Cut down. However, that gives his team a little bit of breathing room. Able to push in. But Kerberwar's going to pop that War Machine and let it fly.
Only finds one. I'm not sure if I like the call on it. Those were some ambitious launches coming out. The projectile's not really quite getting there, but now the Sniper's Nest, this is so much to use, although they are using everything for this round. So, I mean, you have to win this round now if you're Liberty, otherwise things could get out of hand very quickly, as
Delay, sorry about that.
happens to the best of us.
Yeah, sometimes can't control your ISP does. Somebody left the lobby. Luckily, it did end in that 3-0, so sorry about that one. But yeah, really in that control, it just came down to the slaying power of Liberty Red right there. Just able to hold down the angles they needed to. Kerbivore was an absolute monster, going 21-8 with that ICR. Really nothing else that a GSU could do, you know.
I mean, it's not just the fact that he goes 21-8. It's what does that actually mean? When your ICR player is going that stat line, that's opening up so much space for you to maneuver around the map because you have that anchor that can hold those long angles and win the fight. So it's not just the fact that he's winning long-range gunfights, it's the fact that he's allowing his team to play more aggressively because of it. I mean, it just opens up so much map control when your long-range AR is having that kind of a game.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. As we're going to be hopping back into the matches for a second, it's going to be a Arsenal hard point. Do you think LU Red's going to close it out here, or do you think we're going to be going to a map number 5?
Yeah, you have to think that it's going to be LU Red closing this one out in hardpoint. I just simply, based on the fact that what we just saw there in control, the gunfights were just routinely going the way of LU. Their pinches were great. Their setups were great on takes. You got to figure out all that's going to come into play, especially on an Arsenal for hardpoint. Is that what we said? Arsenal, right? That's where we're headed to for our last one.
Hacienda, my bad.
Hacienda, okay.
Map set incorrectly.
Well, even on Hacienda, it's kind of the same story. The hardpoints are on one map, one side or the other. They're very polarized as far as where they spawn out at. So it comes down to winning rotation fights. I think that those two maps in specific are all about rotation gunfights. And you're going to see that be pretty emphasized when it comes to holding down that middle courtyard area. When you look at players like Curb on the ICR, I don't know if we'll see him use it all the way through the entirety of the map. Sometimes you see players pick up a Maddox depending on the hard point. Regardless, the fact of the matter is he's been holding down long angles. If that continues to happen, it's a very tall task for GSU to take down LU Red, I think, in this hard point.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. The ICR presence of Liberty Red, I think, has just been more dominant so far in the day. You know, Kerbivore especially showing his ICR prowess, holding down that back 18 heady on that control map. Just really I think for me, it's really going to come down to whether or not GSU is stepping up the slaying power for this match. If they don't step up the slaying power, I don't think they're going to be able to win this hard point.
Yeah.
So.
End of story. That's literally that's number one. Like, there's a big step protocol here for GSU to come back in this series. Number one is win gunfights. Absolutely. If you're not winning gunfights, it's going to be really difficult to come back against how dominant this LU Red team has been so far in the respawn mode.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you there. And the map is just loading up at the moment. I say that as we're going to a full restart. Just my just my luck. Fourth time of the night.
The way it always goes. You're cursing yourself there, J Pro.
See, it's really unfortunate, to be honest. The internet crashes. You come back. You're all ready. Yes, we're going to a Hacienda hardpoint. Honestly, I think one of my favorite hardpoint maps in the game, out of any of them, because it forces teams to play so much like closer, but not really close in the sense that didn't make sense. But like teams have to play together. Pushing towards the back spawns for the Lambeau Hill. Making sure they're holding the spawns, for the fences hill. But all in all, these teams just got to have the better team working. Right now, LU Red's doing that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Flat out. It's just there's so many things going right for LU Red. And you talk about things like having, again, that ICR player locking down a long angle. So that way teams can play together and play closer knit, where they can just kind of roll as almost like a death ball. So, I mean, it very well could end up being that same tale here. But Hacienda, we've seen crazy things happen on this point too. Very normally, that neutral first central point barely gets any time accumulated on it. So if you can piece together a Lambeau Hill plus a Vines Hill or a Fences Hill, whatever you want to call the nomenclature of it, very well are right back in these games very quickly. It has a lot of the same kind of stylistic comebacks that a Seaside would, without the dominance that the spawns have. But it just comes down to, if you can win those rotation gunfights, all of a sudden, very well, you can piece together 2-3 hardpoints and get this thing out of hand.
Agreed. And I think a lot of the better teams on this map recognize that first hill is going to be pretty contest-heavy, so they're just fighting for control of the map. And it looks like we're going to be in this one, hopefully for real this time.
Crossing fingers.
And they decided to switch sides on me again. Yikes. Well, we're going to be hopping right back into it. And it looks like Liberty or GSU is pushing towards this rock side of the hill. And just early control going towards Liberty Red, as Frequent Sign's just going to be sitting inside the hill.
A lot of free time for Liberty, and again, you take a look at what is that given by. All of this space from the Maddox ICR gameplay that we're seeing from Liberty has allowed one player just to sit on point and find that success. I mean, 21 points so far. That's just so far. If you can find one more gunfight trade here, you can find extra time on the point, and that's going to be the case. Only 3 seconds for GSU, and all of a sudden, you cannot allow this much time happening on this initial hard point if you're GSU.
Especially such a contest-heavy hill. And there's only going to be one player sitting in the back. That's going to be Nevermind trying to hold down these spots. But he's going to get pushed by 3 of them, and he's not able to find one gunfight. It's going to be incredibly tough for the side of GSU.
And there's the help, though, as Ripples is able to come back from behind. He's able to find one. Now contesting from the mezzanine is one more, and that's a good pick. Have to win these spawns out if you're GSU. You have to have the control of it. One more fight near these hedges, right in front of Limo. Good help. Nevermind was there to assist if needed, and that will be some dominating control, and a lot of it going the way of GSU early.
And some good picks right there from GSU. Able to pick up 2 kills. Beautiful can answer back with 2 of his own.
That's just incredible gun sense. My goodness, Blue. You can't be allowed to do this. Absolutely not. And he's still here fragging, or at least trying to put his presence felt. Meanwhile, the rest of his team is trying to hit from lobby, and they will break this successfully. Off the 3 kill from Blue. He did not put the trophy down. That's actually wise, considering the time good left on the point. But still, I mean, for GSU, that hurts a little bit. It hurts the pride, but the fact of the matter is you got some steam cooking. You got 27 seconds remember on that hard point, and now it just comes down to, can you win these rotation points? Someone has to punish Blue. Finally, there will be a little bit of a trade fight happening over the middle portion of this map. It just comes down to who can get into this fence area first.
Yeah, LU Reds, or sorry, excuse me, GSU is already on the rotation. They're already here, but they do find 2 kills. I say Herbivore's going to find a second. What looked like a good setup for GSU is going to be broken instantaneously.
I mean, what do you do if you're GSU? Like, I'm sitting here, like, actively thinking of different scenarios, and it just, at the end of the day, it's because you have to win your gunfights. I just wish that there was something else that we could kind of give a credit to, but I mean, yes, they're getting some time here. Yes, it's all scrap time essentially, because again, Liberty's right here. It's just a little bit of medium time in the middle portion of the map, but these early rotations, I mean, they were just about as speedy as you could expect to be on the rotation from Lambo over here to fences, but they don't win any of the rotation gunfights. Things start to get out of hand. Blue pops off at the end of that last hill, and now all of a sudden, you know, this lead is starting to increase exponentially.
Yeah, really, it's all about the situation that GSU is putting themselves into. They get the early setup, but just instantly broken. Right now, this map probably should be flip-flopped. It should be 90 in favor of GSU and 40 in favor of LU Red, but they just can't hold the setup.
I like this setup, though, speaking of for GSU, although I don't like that challenge whatsoever from APOC. Talk about putting yourself right out in the open, and now all of a sudden, you have to find a way to hold. They're going to get some help from the team nades coming out of Liberty, but can they find the eliminations needed to keep the point in their favor? It looks like the answer will be yes. A very awkward challenge once again from the team Liberty. And now it just comes down to, can you win these last isolated gunfights? There's a big stagger coming in from Liberty, and yeah, this is good hold from GSU. One by one they come, although they will be broken. One more from side door. AIM will eventually come back through as Freakenstein will be able to find a little bit of help that might have been needed.
Yeah, Liberty really just racking up the time right here. Race through that initial setup again. I think that's really just the big thing hammer on right now. GSU's had the early rotation on 2 or 3 hills at this point, and they get broken within 10-15 seconds, and that's why they're getting beaten by about 50.
Have we seen a successful break yet from GSU? I mean, they broke technically on fences, but there was still one more player there that swung it back in their favor. We have not seen a full break yet from GSU. I think all of their time has come on the initial capture percentage of these big points.
And if you're playing a team like LU Red, you got to be able to break back in.
Yeah.
No.
This is a nice idea from GSU, but coming through the connector side of things, but they're forcing their spawns there. That's a very one-dimensional spawn. It takes a long time to rotate, not only to the second hard point, but also just to get on top of the, you know, those balconies that overlook that courtyard. So some value here from GSU, and mostly on the back end of Liberty, just allowing them to have it as the cluster grenade will be used to try to zone away nobody. They're not obviously known as far as where the spawn will be over here by the front garage location. GSU will actually nearly even this up at the back end of that hard point, so a lot of time actually forfeited from Liberty. What they just are looking at this Lambo Hill as being a full-time hill that they want to get.
Yeah, Riffles able to pick up a dart in a car. Not really sure about that play, but never mind. He's gonna find one, get traded out instantly by the gas slam.
The Annihilator for jokes up close. Hello, he'll take that one from the hip fire. Looking for more long distance. Those would be difficult, a little ambitious. We'll just find one more, but not healing. Not sure I agree with that play. APOC on top of the point will try to hold for as long as possible. And GSU has made a go of this for sure. And again, you kind of question this is big Liberty allowing so much time to go for free on a very neutral contest hard point on that second rotation. The first hard point itself, Lambo in contest for a lot longer than I think Liberty would have liked, considering their committal to holding it, at least on the early rotation game.
Yeah, and another thing, you know, GSU just really set up LU Red. This time only breaking it with about 30 seconds left, so they a little bit better. They held it for a little bit longer, and that's why the game's, you know, down to about a 40-point lead going over to this Fences Hill.
LU has so much that they can use to break this, but with that opening pick, will they even get the opportunity? Good cluster to zone everybody away. We'll actually separate the team and find one, allowing for a kill to happen over that headshot box.
Yeah, and both
just
those
on
players,
the back end of this turn.
And both those players spawned up on the rock side of the hill, so they're gonna have to wait and try to regroup with this team. That's a good chunk of time that GSU can be able to hold on to.
You gotta win these fights right now. If your visual odds feels real bad, he does get double challenged, but oh my goodness, Toddy able to find some nice shots, even on the player proned up, and that's big for GSU, or for Liberty. The colors still give me a little bit of a wash, and that will be pretty much a break as long as he can continue to find these shots. And now Curb will actually take over the ICR angle from inside of this pin area. Will be challenged by the Maddox and will be one out for GSU. So relatively successful point here for GSU, getting this within essentially 10 points.
Yeah, I really like this adaptation coming out of GSU. They're recognizing the tendencies of, you know, Liberty, recognizing, all right, they're going to push here, this is what they like to do, and they're making that min-map adjustment, I think, is really key to winning a lot of these maps.
APOC's having a really rough map here, too. I mean, as you take a look at it, for what you need to happen at GSU, having one of your main SOG players have a little bit of struggles, that's not going to ever really pan out. War Machine out for Herbivore. We'll find one. We'll try to find a second by Checkers that will lock in, but not enough to find another. Cluster nade will actually be well-timed, as that was a player grappling in. Even a little bit of extra damage beyond that, and now look at this, a little bit of a peek and poke coming out of Curb as he's put himself really close to streaks.
Yeah, and then Moses decides to pop the vision pulse there. I really like that recognition of players close to streaks. Let's hopefully, give them some kills by using the vision pulse.
A little too over-aggressive there, though, considering that he was essentially 1 kill off. Not actually able to find those streaks in his hands, but still the lead increases back to about 60. And now as we rotate back to this neutral point, you have to think that with these kills kind of being traded back and forth, it just comes down to who can hold this high ground best and who will actually put the first sacrificial lamb on the point.
Looks like that's going to be GSU, just trying to hold on. Nevermind, just going to be sitting in the hill. Ripple's got a big job, going to get double peeked. Beautiful, going to pick up 2.
And again, it just comes down to that one gunfight. If Ripples is able to hard scope that angle coming out of rock, that little side door, if you win both of those gunfights, that's a lot of resulting time for GSU. But again, you just lose that high ground, and it's just easy pickings. And now the Annihilator out for blue. This is an ambitious play. Oh my goodness, he's able to find a nice headshot. He'll lose 1 shot through. A second one will connect. Can he find potentially more? Still 1 more in the chamber. You can hold on to this for a while. You've got plenty of time, and he will rush it and miss. So not the best effectiveness, but it still gets the job done. Over 200 points now is Liberty Red.
And beautiful 300 out that strike team. You don't see that score streak tacked on very often, but he's able to get it. GSU is going to be in a world of hurt. They're only down about 60 points right now, so a comeback is possible.
Absolutely. And look at this situation that Blue's in. All of a sudden, no ammo in the chamber. Will be able to get taken down, and Curb misses some shots. Will be mid-reload. Oh, you have to win that fight, though. You have to swing these spawns if you're GSU. A little bit of a slide and dodge coming out of Curb will give him just enough breathing room to get himself healed, reloaded, and able to find the trade away.
And the lightning strike's going to come in from Beautiful. Going to be able to find one of them. At very worst, just give him some information. Players are going to be spawning on the rock.
And this is, again, you just take a look across the board. Not just the kill totals, but the score streaks as well. Specialist charge, everything just favoring the side of Liberty. And you don't want to put it on one player, but when everyone is nearly going even or positive for Liberty Red, and you've got a player on the side of GSU nearly double neg, got to think a switch up needs to happen, whether it be play style or weaponry. We're up to 245 to 157. A good break from GSU, so an opportunity, but they're going to have to play a pretty flawless hard point from here on out, J-Pro.
Exactly, especially since LU Red's already set up in the New Hill Trophy, going down only 5 seconds needed. You don't like the team kill coming out with the War Machine. That's really don't. That's going to be it.
Yeah. A dominant performance. Absolutely. I mean, goodness gracious. You talk about Liberty Red having the expectations coming out, and GSU, the former champs, trying to regain here in the first week of the season 1. Not quite able to match up against a obviously well-rehearsed and pretty notable squad of Liberty Red. They look like a force to definitely be reckoned with throughout the rest of the season.
Absolutely, got to agree there. But I will say on the side of GSU, they had a lot of good things going for them. Their search and destroy game looked pretty well compared to a team, as you said, that's pretty well rehearsed in the game modes of Call of Duty right now. So I think that's a positive going for them. I think their control game, a little bit shaky, but honestly, I think they're really starting to get there. A little bit more time in the scrims, a little bit more, VOD review. I think this team can be a force to be reckoned with later on down the line.
The thing about, I will just kind of come backwards to GSU. The thing that I enjoyed the most about them was how they were making decision-making calls on the search and destroy. Obviously, there needs to be a little bit of work done on the respawn game mode when it comes to being able to effectively bait and switch, find double challenges, find a way to trade away kills. Those things not quite going in their favor as much as they need to be if you want to try to even up these score lines. I mean, 159, 250. What was the first one? It was like 250 to like 140 something, 141, 142, something around there.
Yeah, 142.
Yeah, I mean, those are just kind of things that say, here's the thing for GSU. You didn't allow Liberty Red to get too many score streaks, so you are doing a pretty decent job. So what it kind of tells for me, kind of looking at those score lines with those things in mind, was just simply the fact that those gunfights, those initial rotation fights where you need to have double challenges, these little bait and switches, they just weren't quite there, and it just came down to slaying potential at the end of the day for Liberty Red.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Really good ICR presence right there. Herbivore, 4,200 damage in that map, but still locking down those lanes, making sure, the Maddox and the SOG players able to push up and get the kills needed. And at one point, I really thought that GSU might have been able to get the comeback going. They're only down, about 30 points. But
yeah.
Really, it's just the setups. It comes down to the setups. They get broken too easily, and Liberty Red just breaks back in, able to take up, what should have been, 40, 50 seconds. It ends up becoming like 25 because they just can't hold the setup.
Yeah, and again, you have to give credit to GSU for setting themselves up first on almost every single hard point. They were there first, ready to go, ready to play for it. It just kind of came down to where are your holes? Are you properly getting good anchors when it comes to your AR players holding down spawns? Are your SMG Maddox players holding cheeky angles that you can punish people coming around a corner blindly? I mean, those are the things. Like there were a couple of times you saw APAC, like for instance on that rock hard point, was sliding out into what was then a 1v3. Like with the SMG gameplay, you kind of want to be holding closer to home. Let your Maddox players hold those kind of angles to help you out. It seemed like he wanted to make some heroic plays happen. Maybe the frustration was building for him. Maybe we talked about how he was an emotional player. I mean, it looked like he was overextending a little bit. I don't mean to harp on one player in specific. It's just SMG players as a whole. We saw it in our first set as well. You have to kind of know your strengths and weaknesses, trust your teammates to hold down their roles. You fulfill yours. We could be looking at a different game because it was about 20, 30 points, maybe even less than that halfway through that map. It was about 200, 180, somewhere in there. I mean, that was your opportunity. It just seemed like the game just never fully got reined fully in for GSU.
Yeah, really unfortunate for them, but LU Red, coming out here playing a great game. GSU also coming out here playing a great game, and some great matches for the start of the College Call of Duty League. First season, Black Ops 4, seeing the switch to 5v5, the new game modes, throwing it all together. It's been a great night. Shift, I want to thank you for coming out casting with us tonight.
It's been a pleasure, my friend. It's been fun.
It's been great. And don't miss out this Thursday. We got 2 more matches at 8 Eastern time. We're going to have University of Toronto versus West Texas A&M University. And then at the 10 o'clock match, we have Iowa versus Cincinnati. 2 matchups that I think are going to be great. I think all the teams there have been putting a lot of prep. I see them in the scrims and 10s lobbies all the time. So be there Thursday, 8 Eastern for some more great matches. And thank you for tuning into the College Call of Duty League Season 1. We'll see you on Thursday.